Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I hope you're well on this Easter weekend. Oh, it's a thing, isn't it? When you get to holidays, the high days, the holidays, if you're early days of ditching the booze, it can be such a thing. Just as soon as we get into that holiday mode, or, we know we're going to see family, or we're going to be doing something that's different to our usual routine, then the little voice starts up, oh, maybe I should just have one. Even in the Sober Club this week in our Facebook group, a woman who's been sober for over 2 years was sharing that she'd arrived at her holiday destination, and out of nowhere, this voice appeared, there's free drinks in our room, it's all inclusive, and maybe I should, maybe. It's just bonkers, isn't it? How these neural pathways, they run so deep. Our unconscious mind has had so many years of this conditioning. And of course, it's not helped by everything around us and, by society and by all the cultural influences and advertising and goodness knows what else. So we have to just really kind of focus on what we know to be true. Just ask our body, is this actually true? Is it true that it's okay for me to just have one? No, it isn't. It isn't actually true. Is my life better without? Yes. And we really have to ask ourselves, is the emperor actually wearing any clothes? No, he's really, really not. Alcohol, it will not do you any favours whatsoever. And we talk about that very thing in our podcast today. You'll be delighted to know that I'm chatting to Susan from Hola Sober magazine. I haven't spoken to Susan for ages, and us gals can definitely gas. So we're having a little chat about the fear of missing out, FOMO, and what the sunshine triggers do to us, and all of that stuff. So I know you're going to love that. I love chatting to Susan. But before we do that, really interesting brand that we've teamed up with this week, Haelu Drinks. It was set up by three friends, brothers Stuart and Rod, and their friend Jamie. And it was during lockdown that they were chatting about interesting drinks they'd tried, and including non-alcoholic drinks. And they had their beers that they liked, the non-alcoholic beer. But then they were talking about how could they find a great non-alcoholic cocktail that had a grown-up taste that really felt like a reward. And that is when Haelu began. And their main aim was to create a great tasting non-alcoholic drink that had a positive effect on both your mind and your body. So you can imagine how much I love this, because, I love talking about adaptogens and vitamins and minerals and all of these great kind of added benefits. That's how they describe it. So they started working with alchemists and herbologists and started looking at these mood enhancing benefits of adaptogens and different vitamins and minerals, and having a look at how they could replicate the positive feelings that alcohol gives you, a moderate amount of alcohol gives you, or certainly that's how we perceive it, isn't it? That, we feel a little bit more relaxed or whatever. And they wanted to make sure that Haelu was low calorie, and it was gluten free, and it was vegan friendly, and had no added sugar. So voila, Haelu is available in 2 flavours. Havana Heat, which just like it sounds, moody and earthy, and it's got that kind of smoky, spicy kind of taste, and Salemo Spritz, which is really, it's a bit like being out on a sunny Mediterranean evening. So really gorgeous drinks, lightly sparkling. You can serve them over ice, and they've really just got that unique blend of adaptogens, vitamins and minerals, and you can relax, you can unwind, you can be happy, and no booze. How cool. HaeluDrinks.com, and we're going to have a competition to win some as well. So share details of all of that in the show notes. So thank you, Haelu, for teaming up with us. I just absolutely love it. The whole idea of being able to keep the ritual, change the ingredients. I had a conversation with another client a few days ago. He said, oh no, I haven't tried any alcohol-free drinks. I'm okay with my tea. No, don't stick with your tea. Find something you love, because otherwise your unconscious mind will start to feel very deprived. And that's what we don't want. There is nothing to give up. There is no reason to feel deprived. You know, we really can have it all. We really can. We can have great taste. We can have a lovely, sophisticated, grown-up drink, exactly like Haelu. And we absolutely don't need to compromise. And we also don't need to go back to drinking. Absolutely not. So I really hope you'll enjoy the interview with Susan. Just before we do that, I must remind you of our event on Saturday, April the 15th. If you're in Hertfordshire, just if you're in the UK, just get on a train, come down and do family constellations with us. I had the most amazing testimonial come through this week from someone who did a constellations workshop recently, and she'd actually shared an account. It's a shame I haven't got it in front of you. I would read it to you, but anyways, have a look at the Sober Club website. I'll post it there. It was just amazing to read the impact that one short family constellation session had on this woman. Just an incredible impact from such a short time. And that's what it's like. It can be really life-changing. It's also a really lovely thing to do for the day. It's emotional. Don't get me wrong. Might need to bring some tissues. Well, we'll provide them. But it's in a good way. It's been described as a spa day for the soul. And Rafe, the trauma expert that I work with, he always says you might feel tired at the end of the day because each of your cells has done a little pirouette, which is quite a nice way of looking at it. So please do check it out. We've still got some spaces. It's in Hertfordshire. It's one day. It's approximately 9:45 till about 4:30, something like that, and a small group. It's very safe, non-judgmental. You really are welcome, and it's got nothing to do. It's not linked to sobriety in any way. It doesn't matter if you're still drinking or if you're it really doesn't matter. Everyone is welcome. And, we just trust the energy will bring the right people together. And I really hope it's beneficial for you to just check it out. Have a look at some of the blog posts and some of the information. If you go to thesoberclub.com, just click on events and you'll find the information there. And the week after that, we've got Sober by the Sea. Did you hear the news this week that Southend has got the accolade of best peer? Is it a peer of the year? Yeah, peer of the year 2023, because it's like the longest pleasure pier in the world. I think there's a working pier somewhere else, but it's the longest pleasure pier in the world, and they've put a new train on it and everything. So Southend, we're not talking Florida or anything, are we? But it's got a very funky pier, and we have a great venue that overlooks it. And so if you want to come to Sober by the Sea, you'll have fun. If you like that vibe of, being in a city, but also being able to check out the sea, then hope you can make it to Sober by the Sea. We do a vision board and we focus on what it is you want for the future. And of course, just to mention, if sober coach training is something you're interested in, then drop me a message. Right, that's it for my little plugs. Well, look who it is. It's Susan from Hola Sober. How are you doing, Susan?
I'm good, and I'm really happy to see you. And it is one of those magnificent sunshine days here in Madrid, where I'm so glad I do live in a warm, hot country, because the sun is out, spring is in the air, and it's a good day. It's a very good day.
Fantastic.
And it's good to see you.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say we should talk about today, because obviously it's just lovely to have a chinwag with you generally. But in the UK, I'm sure people have told you, it has been so miserable. I can't begin to tell you, for like the whole of March. And then literally in the last few days, the last week, suddenly it feels like spring at last. And there's been some sunshine, and we've actually felt like, oh, thank goodness things are changing. But then with that, it's so interesting, because a few people, like I had a couple of Sober Club members say, oh, I was doing okay, I'm on day 8 or whatever, or on day 9, and then the sun's out, and I really get this sense of like, oh, this is triggering me, and what shall I do? And it's a thing, isn't it? When you're early days, the sunshine is one hell of a trigger for your unconscious mind, telling you, oh, that means you must go and have a drink.
Absolutely. It's funny, because I suppose in Ireland and England, the weather has been so dreadful that I think that's an added impetus right now with the sun beginning to come out. But I often feel that women see sunshine and they say hello Chardonnay as opposed to hello sunshine, right? So it's hello Chardonnay. And suddenly you and I are getting emails from women exactly as you describe. It's a huge trigger. It's a huge, enormous trigger, not just for early days, but I think it's something that people address even in year 2, because there is that habitual behavior that we were all in, which was particularly in Ireland and England. Sun comes out, we don't see it all that often, and we immediately gravitate to that sunshine terrace, and we immediately in our head see a glass of vino, a beer. We see alcohol entrenched within sunshine. We don't see sunshine as an excuse to necessarily go sunbathing. We see it as an excuse to actually have wine in the garden or, out on a terrace with friends.
It's really
funny.
true.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you're in early sobriety and you're thinking of all the possible triggers, sunshine isn't one that automatically springs.
No. We think of holidays, don't we? Like, what will I do on my all-inclusive holiday or whatever? And most people kind of realize that they need to plan ahead for that. But you're right. It's just it's the end of March, and you've got the afternoon off work and the sun's out. It's that, isn't it? It's the spontaneity of the sunshine, and your unconscious mind says this is when you need to be drinking. And of course, what that leads on to is this sense of that, this kind of fear of missing out. What will I, the FOMO that everybody gets? How will I miss out? What was that like for you in the early stages? Did you get any of that kind of fear of missing out stuff?
I think that because I live in a city at which you pass terraces every single day of the week filled with people, right? Spaniards take to the streets, and the sun, we have a lot more sun than you do. Therefore, there's an awful lot more terraces and a hell of a lot more wine drinking, right? So what I felt was when I was passing these terraces, which I would pass every other day coming from work, in the beginning stages, I changed my route home so that I wouldn't have to sort of head on meet all of these people allegedly out in sunshine, clinking glasses, having a great time. And what I had to do for my own sense of feeling of strength was that I had to actually be sort of really pragmatic and cold with myself and say, Susan, be real. You never went onto a terrace in your born days and had one.
Yeah, exactly.
You never went onto a terrace anywhere in any part of the world at any time of the day and had one glass of wine ever, right? You were always the one that wanted one. And sure, now we're settled in, sure, we'll have another and we'll have another. And inevitably, that's exactly the moment when things went askew or went awry, or I maybe said too much, or maybe I overspoke, or maybe I argued with my husband. So I had to be really cold with myself in those early days, like days maybe 20, 21, 22. And I had to remind myself and think to the end of the sentence. The end of the sentence inevitably for me was the sun may have come out, and I may have had a glass of wine, but it ended like a shit show.
Yeah, exactly.
50% of the time.
Exactly.
At least 50% of the time. Not every time, but 50% of the time. And is there anything worse than waking up the following morning on a Saturday, having had sunshine and a glass of wine with colleagues from work, and your awakening thought is, what did I say last?
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
I okay? How many times did I say to my husband, was I okay? And we had, this week, I had family in from the States and from Ireland, and we were on a sunshine-filled patio out the back, and there was wine being consumed. And I can absolutely honestly tell you, 4.5 years in, not only did I didn't have FOMO, I didn't feel I was missing out, but boy, was I glad on Thursday morning.
Exactly.
They were all dying.
Yeah,
Jane.
Exactly.
Feeling ropey, feeling, really unwell, as you do. You've been up late, you've had a few glasses, whereas I was bouncing around like a blue arse fly, happily hangover free, filled with the joys of spring. So I know myself that in the early days, the only thing that I did to save myself was to think to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Play that tape forward. It's the glamorizing of it all, isn't it? It's the glamorizing. It's like, we we ought to know that alcohol is super bad for us. I find myself saying this all the time because I'm still incredulous that I didn't know. And even now, I don't know how often you listen to my podcast, but pretty much every week I read another news story out that's just come out about how alcohol is good for you. And the one I read out last week, oh my God, last week's one was sensational. It was, you must have seen the article, that those people who drink moderately have less chance of an early death than teetotalers. What BS is that? What BS is that? That's the thing that would have kept me so stuck. Now, of course, when you get into small print, it's like, oh, but if you drink more than a certain amount, then that's worse. And then you definitely have an early death and everything goes to shit. But there's that line in the middle. There's the headline that effectively says drinkers are healthier than non-drinkers. There it is in black and white on the headlines of the newspaper, with a lovely quirky headline. I'll drink to that. Oh my God, that shit kept me stuck for years and years. But it's not true. It's actually not true. It's absolute bollocks. The alcohol is just so awful at any level and any amount. So why do we crave it just because it's a sunny day? This cognitive dissonance that we have. It's incredible, isn't it?
Here's the thing. It's ironic that you're saying about that headline, because those things incense me, right? And I constantly feel that voice inside of me saying, shout louder. Yeah. And I think that, there's so many battles on so many fronts that we have to fight to de-glamorize any form of alcohol and to follow the Canadian lead of there is no amount of alcohol that's
they finally said that, bless them. Yeah.
They did. And then here's one that happened to me today, driving on the highway today. My husband was driving, I was passenger. And there was one of those huge sort of, lit up signs on the highway that you see that normally is telling you there's rain or wind or traffic or whatever. And today it said in Spanish, alcohol lies. I've never.
Wow. Did it really? Oh my God.
So I got so excited. I started, messaging my friends going, oh my God. So I'm going to drive back around tomorrow and take a screenshot of it when he's driving, because I was just I was screaming at the sign. I was going, oh my God.
That's interesting.
And this in Spain this week obviously it's a huge Christian festival, and next week is Passover. So there's lots of things going on here. So for them to put it on a highway that's really busy this week, like really, really busy in Madrid.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is a big shift, right? It
really is a big shift. That's incredible.
It is, because
I thought you were going to say, don't drink and drive, which is fair enough. But to go one step further, wow, I love
alcohol lies. And
love that.
The power of it was such a simple sentence. Alcohol lies. It wasn't a banner. It wasn't flashing lights.
Yeah.
That's what actually drew me to it first, because I looked up and then I read it, and I read it to my husband, and then I said, am I understanding that right? And he went, yes, it actually does say that. Alcohol lies.
Amazing.
Now, here's the deal. That will hit the subconscious here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the beginnings of the ripple.
Exactly. It is totally. Because I love that, because that's so true. When we get that, wouldn't it be nice? No, actually it wouldn't. Wouldn't it feel lovely? And wouldn't that calm me down and reduce my stress? No. Wouldn't that help me feel a little bit more confident? No.
No, it will not. And the terrible thing about it is, as a woman is sitting out there on day 8 or 9, I have a friend, one of my women, she's going to Italy on holidays, and she was like, I'm on day 49, what do I do? So in those moments, just like you've said, she's thinking of sunshine, right? And she's thinking of terraces and restaurants and Chardonnay and whatever. And this is where we have to call a spade here, right? And often things are sugar coated, and often things are made out to be soft, and lavender bath bombs and all of this. But I believe that until such time as we shoot from the hip about alcohol and shoot from the hip as to the truth about when you drink every day, be the sunshine, the terrace, the vacation, alcohol will add nothing to your Friday experience, or nothing to your holiday. In fact, as you and I both know, it takes from it on every level.
Absolutely.
It takes from you being present. It takes from you and your energy, your time. It adds to your anxiety. It will actually lead to further and deeper depression. It will cause a shit show in your hormones. So if we don't keep banging that drum, women will keep coming to you and I going, oh, but God, Janey, it's Thursday. The sun is shining. I live by the sea. When you and I want to say you live by the sea, what privilege.
Exactly.
Go for a walk,
You're the
breathe
lucky
in
one without the
salt
booze.
air,
Totally.
have a beautiful cappuccino and a slice of cake. Enjoy all that you can by the sea. You don't need alcohol. Ethanol, can we call it that? Ethanol. It's literally rocket fuel practically. And we put it in a fancy glass. And we misconstrue the fact that sometimes in those moments on a terrace, you and I are having a ball and laughing. And that's what we think the wine has done.
Yes, exactly. We absolutely. There is that sense that we can't have fun without it. That we can't be social. That we can't, And it is interesting. I had a conversation. We did a little meetup in the Sober Club, and a couple of women were quite early days, and they were nervous about sort of going out with friends for the first time. And I do get that, because the first time I went out with a small group of women, and we met for lunch or something. I didn't even know them particularly well. It was kind of a bunch of business women, but I can't deny it was odd. I can't deny that. It was a very odd experience. It was as if I was kind of seeing myself from above. I was kind of viewing myself. Who is this person? Who is this person who's sitting quietly, not ordering the wine for everyone, not ordering the second bottle? Who is this person who's actually quite quiet? And it was odd, because I hadn't kind of found my sober identity. I didn't quite know who I was. It was odd, and I think it's really worth admitting that, because we can't sugarcoat that either. You don't go from years of drinking and being controlled by alcohol to just suddenly feeling 100% great, sleeping like a baby, having energy as a Duracell bunny, and then being able to just rock your life socially and slide into everything. It kind of doesn't work like that. You need a bit of a recalibration period, don't you?
That's the point. And I'm so glad you said that, because I sometimes get really annoyed that poor women go onto Instagram and they think it's all razzmatazz, when the reality is giving up chocolate is difficult. Giving up sugar is difficult. Giving up alcohol is difficult. And so if we take the analysis that if we're in a coffee shop every single day and we have chocolate cake at 10 o'clock every single morning for 15 years, and suddenly at 10 o'clock and 15 years later, we stop having chocolate cake and we have brown bread, the body is going to scream and go,
exactly.
What are you doing?
Yeah, the little inner toddler will be very unhappy.
Yes.
And particularly if everybody around you is saying, well, if you're not having your cake, I'm not going to be able to have mine. Look what you've done to me. You've made me miserable. And if you're a people pleaser, that's hard.
Very hard. So I think it's really important as women that we empower other women by saying the early days is challenging.
Yeah.
And
really
I always say, Irma, how badly do you want it? Right. Yeah. So in other words, how badly do you really want to be alcohol free? Number one. Two, are you willing to do anything to have that sense of being alcohol free? If we want the sense of power, whether that is if we want to lose 5 stone in weight and have to go to the gym every single day, the discipline doesn't matter whether it's alcohol, the gym, or chocolate. It's all the same parameters with which we need to employ to find our power.
The
thing is that how badly do you want it? And are you willing to do everything? And when you see the sunshine come out, you're lucky, because your people can lean into the Sober Club buddies and say, oh my God, I'm feeling crap. How are you feeling? I feel really nervous as well. Because you and I both understand nerves. We were nervous. It was strange. I too sat on a terrace and went, who the hell is this very gentle, quiet woman? Sitting here ordering a cappuccino while they're having champagne. Who is she? And I think that there is a very important piece to that, is not only do we not know who we are when we stop drinking, because we've been doing it every day for however long, we don't even know who we want to be.
No, absolutely true. A lot of people, I think, go through a little phase. I think I probably did too, actually. Now I think back, because I didn't have any support, and I think I've said this to you before. I now know that I did absolutely everything wrong. I didn't eat properly. I didn't I didn't do any of the things that I now know. On the one hand, I realize I could have made it so much easier for myself. But on the other hand, I'm grateful, because there's nothing anyone can say to me that I haven't experienced, because I did it the really bloody hard way. Right. Yes. But I do remember a time, I can't remember the exact time frame, but I remember a period where I thought, why am I doing this again? I feel more shit than I did when I was drinking. Why am I doing it? I lost all track of why I was doing it. I didn't know who I was. I was sleeping really badly. I looked terrible. I was ridiculously emotional, up and down. I mean, ridiculous. And it's almost, why am I doing that? I'm not the kind of person that, I'm not a marathon runner. I've got like a challenge that I have to meet. It was for a while I lost sight of why I was even doing it. Something, thank God, kept me going. Something, and I was able to catch sight of that better life without. And that's the important piece. The escaping from the shit, that's the other important piece, of course. And I suppose back then that is what kept me, because I knew it had got so bad that I didn't really want to go back there. Yes. But yeah, it was disappointing. It wasn't all perfect quickly. Right?
Yes, because I think that, when you're sitting on the Sunshine Terrace and you're day 9 or day 21 or 27, and as you rightly say, you're not sleeping, you feel shit, you feel out of sorts, and you're a bit pissed off with the universe because you're still in that stage of, do I want to do that? Do I want to live this life? Because this is really hard. And I think that that's something that's really important to say as well, is that, in the beginning, it is challenging. And in the beginning, we really do have to hold on to our why we are doing this, right? And when we're sitting in the sunshine-filled terrace with our friends, we've got to zone in on the fact that the enjoyment we're feeling is because of our friends. And it's because of the connection we feel with those women and men. And the alcohol is adding nothing to the situation or occasion. In fact, it distracts from
it.
So therefore, we've got to actually zone in on the humanity of our moments in our sunshine-filled terraces as opposed to the liquid in our glass. I think that if we look at the people around us in those moments, well, I was like so super careful in the first 6 weeks. I didn't want to travel for work. There were people I didn't want to be around. There was no dinner parties unless they were here in this house. I made all of these rules to protect myself in the first 6 weeks because I was bloody terrified of falling. I really knew how bad it could get. I got out in time, and I didn't want to, like you, I didn't want to go back to those dark, shadowy days. But I was really, really ruthlessly clear on my boundaries in those 6 weeks. So if I'm out there right now and I'm day 8 or day 15 and the sun is out, I'm actually not going to a sunshine-filled terrace. I am actually opting to stay at home. I'm in my own garden. I'm controlling my own back bar, be that, an alcohol-free gin or whatever the case may be. I'm controlling my back bar, because I may be feeling vulnerable and maybe I'm feeling really nervous, which we understand, which is how I did it. I had to pass the terraces coming from work because they're all over this bloody town. But once I changed my route from work and avoided as many as I possibly could in those first 2 weeks, because I used to go there, so I didn't want to pass the ones where I used to go.
Yeah,
I genuinely spent a lot of time in my back patio in the opening weeks because I needed to be strong before I could go out into the world and take on the questions.
Yes, exactly.
Happen.
Well, that's the other piece, isn't it? No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think everyone has to deal with this, whichever is best for them. And if you don't want to go somewhere, don't go. Simple as that. This is the most important thing you'll ever do, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
The most important thing you'll ever do for yourself. That's it. There is nothing more important than this.
There isn't. And here's the point. It's the golden ticket. Yeah. And if indeed you've got into that grey space or that dark black space and you want the golden ticket, It's like anything in life. We have to work for it.
Yeah, you have to be willing. Yeah, I have to be willing to put the work in.
We have to work for it. That's the bottom line. But we work in community. We're no longer isolated on our own like we used to be when we were drinking in secret. So we work in community. So your sober club people, they're leaning in, leaning on, messaging, WhatsApping, going to a meet, doing whatever they need to do.
Exactly. Well, I think that accountability piece is really key. But what I was just going to pick up on, something you said there, which I think is really interesting, is that, you know, I again, it's something else I learned the hard way, but I now realize that, and I now advise, you know, if I'm working one-to-one with someone, if they're sort of early stages and people around them are still drinking, their partners, their friends, their family, whatever, I advise them to actually not say too much at all.
I agree.
Don't get involved in great long conversations about why you're doing it, how long you know what you do, because it can very quickly turn into some kind of debate, some kind of, you know, whatever it is, you're not strong enough yet to have that conversation. So I just recommend, you know, you can say, oh, I'm not drinking at the moment, I feel so much better, it's great, you know, my anxiety is much less. By the way, how was your holiday?
That's
you know,
change
the subject. Even with your partner, I recommend you lay out the basics. You know, in fact, I often recommend don't even go there. Just say, "Oh, I'm doing a health project." On the couch. That's what it is. That's the truth.
It
is a health project. I'm doing a health project.
Yes.
So by the way, I'm not drinking. Please don't offer me any. And no, I won't be going to X, whatever it is, on Saturday where you're up, you know, having wine tasting, whatever the hell it is. I won't be going. But so thanks. I'm just letting you know. End of.
I agree.
Whereas if that conversation is, oh, well, I've had some issues and I'm stopping drinking, and I'm oh my God, that just opens the can of worms. Well, you're not that bad, you know, and on and on. So just literally don't get into it because you're too fragile at the beginning.
I agree. I think that certainly for me, the first 100 days, I said I was on a 100-day challenge, and that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conversation. It was a statement of intent.
Yeah, exactly.
I said it in a way that nobody asked me diddly squat.
Yeah. The more authentic you are, the less people can, you know, squeeze in on it, can't they?
Yes. And I also think that the other thing that's important is that you and I recover out loud so others don't need to. And nobody deserves to be told the whys and the wherefores unless you choose to tell them. And Brené Brown always says, choose who you're going to trust your story with. Right?
Exactly.
So you do not do it on a sunshine-filled bloody terrace with half strangers around and about for them to gang up on you and ask you a million questions.
Yeah.
Or indeed in a family that historically, you know, particularly over this bank holiday weekend and Easter and everything, have garden parties, whatever, you know, you don't say diddly squash because to your own siblings, as you rightly say, because they'll go, why?
Exactly.
You drink like I do. And suddenly you're putting a spotlight on everybody and everybody's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Whereas a 100-day challenge or a 30-day challenge or whatever you want to say that makes you comfortable, and you say it in a way that you don't invite questions.
Exactly.
And you shut them down. And I think it's not even just the fragility of the woman or in question. It's also the fact that it is nobody's bloody business.
It really is not.
Early days,
no.
We don't want to invite any conversation we're not to have.
Exactly. But because, you know, in those early weeks, we still feel a little bit, you know, as I say, I went through that phase where I'm kind of not even sure what I'm doing. So all I need is the accountability and the community of people who say, stick with it, sweetheart.
Yes. And there's
got so much to look forward to.
There's another part that I became conscious of actually in early days and one of my best friends at home said it to me, and she was absolutely right in the early days. There is a grave misinterpretation of what over drinking looks like, and what over drinking ends up as being, right? So therefore, Hollywood has gifted all of our friends and families with this image of over drinking or drinking too much alcohol in the most heinous fashion. And so therefore, they find it difficult to understand that it is somebody with a job, with a family, and high functioning. Therefore, when we say we're giving up alcohol, like you just said earlier, they go, oh my God, did you have a problem? Suddenly, they're gone off into Alice in Wonderland of stories and conjecture of what you and I may have looked like, right? None of it being true. So my best friend Judith at home said to me, I wrote something one morning and she said to me, I have to ask you a question. And I said, fire away. And she said, are you an alcoholic? And I went, no. And she went, okay, I know that, but there's thousands out there that won't know that. So therefore, just be aware of who you're telling, because there is such a stigma attached to the entire A word. She was concerned for me that people would think, oh my God, she's given up, and join dots that weren't even on the map.
No,
that
totally.
weren't even on the map. Whereas, and when you're in early days, I certainly was hugely conscious of all of those things.
Yeah, no, totally.
So therefore, I think that part of the job of those of us that recover out loud is to actually teach and educate friends and family that actually know. You
Absolutely.
don't need to lose your husband,
The
your
more
family,
awareness
your
there is of grey area drinking, of the spectrum, the more awareness, the better it will be for everybody. Because I'm so sick of that concept of, oh dear, did you have a problem? Says the person as they're on their, 15th glass.
The question,
and saying the same shit time after time. I know, it's utterly ridiculous.
I object to the question.
Totally.
Right? I object to any friends of mine in the sober space. Somebody's asking them that question. The bottom line is those of us that choose to address something that was bringing us anxiety and all the ill effects it has in women, we should be applauded.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be made the center of attention. Oh my God, did you have a problem? And I've always wanted to say, I have been asked it, by the way. I've wanted to say, no, I don't have a problem. Why do you have a problem?
Exactly. Well, I'm sure I told you once that when I had a little party and I think I was 3 months sober. And a friend, I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she sort of said, "Oh, so well, you look really, really good. Have you dried out by now?" like I'd been, in the skip, pouring the vodka in from a great height of a morning. Have you dried out? I mean, what perception is that? And that's what keeps everyone stuck, because everyone else who's drinking too much will be thinking, oh, thank God I never got that bad, so I don't have to stop because I wasn't that bad. And it perpetuates, doesn't it? Anyways, thank goodness that we are able to spread the fabulous messages. So, to conclude, don't be worried about the sunshine. Enjoy the sunshine, right? If you want to have a drink of something, keep the ritual. Change the ingredients. Yes, sit on the terrace if you want to. Yes, have a nice glass. Yes, have a lovely time. Make sure it's got something alcohol-free in it. Why would you want poison? That's kind of it, right?
And that is it. And the point about it is the nature aspect of sunshine and fresh air is so important in early sobriety all of the time. But in early sobriety, we need this injection of vitamin D.
We do.
Right?
We definitely do.
And so therefore we need to celebrate the sunshine. We need to reframe it and actually think, oh my golly gosh, I'm actually going to be out there on my own patio or wherever else. I'm going to choose to have this fabulous create something amazing and celebrate the moment and celebrate you being you and not drinking today, as opposed to let's not forget and rewind maybe a year ago, maybe another terrace, another time in your life when you overdrank. I think it's often, for me, I'm the kind of person in the beginning, Jane, that needed to remember the dark with the light. So I remember the dark so that I could create the light. Right?
Love it. Sadly, I'm out of time today. I could chat to you for easily another hour, but I'm out of time, so you're just gonna have to come back.
Yes, and you know me, I love chatting to you, and I shall come back.
Yeah, definitely come back. I'm sure there's lots more we can unpick. So when is the next mag out? When shall we look out for the next Hola Sober?
In the next week, the mag.
Oh, okay, cool. So by the time this podcast's out, might be around.
Absolutely. So fabulous. I'm looking forward to it coming out, and it's a beautiful. It's gorgeous because it's spring and there's lots of flowers and gorgeous colors in it. That's my creative brain, but also there's some really, really good pieces in there. Cool. And Dowsa Johnson does opinion piece on the Canadian legislation, which is good because they're the ones who said don't drink. And Jennifer Bridgman does Wild Child. So we've got there's a lot in there, and a lot of spring fashion.
Lovely. Yeah, I know you. Yeah.
Nice lipstick and some beautiful, beautiful body sprays.
I love it. Thank you so much, Susan. We will speak soon. Thank you, Susan. So whatever you are doing this bank holiday weekend, stay connected, stay kind of in touch with people that are on your side. And that's the beauty of being part of the Sober Club. There's always someone there, who's going to pick you up when you're starting to have those wobbles. And you can visualize yourself writing a lovely post on our group the day after you've been out, feeling delighted, proud of yourself, knowing that you've totally rocked it. Because we all know the early stages can be tricky, just as we were saying on that chat with Susan. We can feel a bit exposed at the beginning. It takes a bit of time to step into the sober shoes, just to kind of really feel comfortable. But you just got to trust me. It will come. It honestly will come. And you do not have to wait till you're rock bottom to experience this. So if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, yeah, but I'm not that bad. Maybe I'll kind of wait. Maybe I'll wait till, I don't know, I'll wait a few months. I don't really need to stop drinking now because I'm not that bad. Why would you not? Why would you not want this better life, right? Sobriety rocks. You've heard me say that a lot. If you can come to Family Constellations, I will see you next Saturday, April the 15th. But of course, there'll be another podcast before then. So have yourself a great Easter. Stay connected. Check out thesoberclub.com and see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.